You're watching The Kate Fox Show. I'm Kate Fox, and today I am speaking with John Pasquale, also known as SohoJohnny. And John, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us.
Well, certainly my pleasure, and thank you for having me on the show today and taking the trip up to this beautiful weather, and it's so uplifting.
It's absolutely, what a lovely place, and thank you for having us.
Pleasure.
And now I wanted to, you have so many things to talk about, but you started in real estate. That's where your background is, business-wise. And now music, events, philanthropy, you have, and I know I'm missing something. Look, you're like, so tell me, what do you want us to know about?
Well, first of all, I don't know who is that guy you just described, all right? But I will say, I will plead guilty to being somewhat of a mad scientist here. But a lot of what you said is probably, kind of organically grown, and I consider myself almost the accidental tourist in everything that you just said. But my roots, I'll take a step back even before the real estate. 4 generations from my father's family in Soho, in the area of Soho that most people know, of course, is that historic district in Manhattan. And my grandfather, just coming like so many of the families and viewers out there, poor immigrants to the States, probably over 100 years ago, and trying to make a living. And passed it on to my father and my uncles, whatever. They had a trucking business in the area. So that's kind of how I grew up, going back, trying to date myself here in the 60s and 70s, back in the day, and just working with Dad and everything. But, one of the beauties of working in the city and growing up in the city was, the city is like probably the biggest melting pot in the world.
Absolutely.
City, right? Especially downtown. And for me, I consider that a second education, a valuable education, how you see from people from all walks of life and diversity and ethnic backgrounds coming together and working together. And I literally remember my dad, we were in the trucking business in Soho. He's a narrow street where everyone in the neighborhood had to know each other because somebody's truck had to pull in, another truck had to pull out, type of thing. So I was very fortunate at that end. And then my younger brother Ron and I had sold the business in late 90s, whatever, and of course I lost my dad to cancer. So let me just divest here for a minute, because that was about 27 years ago. When I was a kid, I was a very nervous child. I used to stutter, okay? And my parents, I had great parents independently, but they would butt heads a lot. And I was an only child till my younger brother came along. And it's interesting because, as I look through pictures, because I lost my mom to COVID last year as well, as many people know, and I look through old pictures, it's funny how you rediscover the person that you were and how your evolution was when you were younger and what it really represented, because we're constantly reinventing ourselves and rediscovering the identities that we have inside us and why we manifested and related to other people even as a child. So I look back on these pictures, and I was always the class clown. I was the one that was getting in trouble even in grammar school, and I went to a parochial school, and they didn't spare the rod back in those days. And, but I would bring in these practical jokes, and there was just nervous energy, and get in trouble. But I always found that need to entertain, to relate to people, to make people. I mean, there were children at the time, right?
But they're still people.
Yeah, exactly, little people. And and I look back, because obviously I get this question a lot. And I try to discover, how did this all come about, and, I think that's kind of the seed there. My dad, I owe to him my sense of humility and humanity, and not because he's my dad, like every son would talk highly of their parents, right? But my dad, he struggled, and we had holes in his shoes, like the story we hear about, people. And my went through the Depression, lived through the Depression. His mother died when he was 5. His dad died when he was 15. You know, it was tough times back in those days. You know, he had an ability of making people feel good. It doesn't matter what they had or didn't have, or people that would work for him at the time. And he had that sense of humanity, and I think that's part of what I picked up from my dad. My mom, who passed last year, we'll get into all this more in detail, but I'm just digressing just to answer as far as my evolution, right? Is my mom was always an advocate for music and, you know, kind of the arts, not in a sophisticated way, okay? But, you know, she did not off-Broadway plays and things like that, and she would have went a lot further under different circumstances. But I always had music very, very pronounced in my household in my youth. I remember 1965, What's New Pussycat, the soundtrack came out with Tom Jones, and I love Tom Jones. So to this day, I'll play that.
Who doesn't love Tom Jones? Come on.
He's great. And, you know, so my mom, the seed of entertainment, my dad, humanity. So in the 1980s, I started a real estate company, real estate brokers, commercial in the city, and, you know, as I was chugging along, I started dealing with a lot of different people, and like skirting like on entertainment, but just like in a real estate vernacular.
Right.
You know, just keeping my tunnel vision on, not really thinking that way. And, you know, like in 1985, like I would do things like sign a lease with Grace Jones, you know, for her restaurant. And we had Andy Warhol, used to be one of his reclusive hangouts in the same property that my grandfather probably helped us acquire back, you know, that was so many years ago on Worcester Street in Soho. And, you know, I went further, you know, and then fast forward, you know, from that, when I lost my dad to cancer, okay, and I was doing events, okay. I know I'm jumping around.
It's all good.
But
it's pertinent.
Yeah. Let me. When I was getting back to when I was a kid, still in grammar school, you know, the nervous kid that I depicted earlier, you know, was pretty popular, okay, famous or infamous, okay, with everybody. And so my parents they had lived in an apartment called Stuyvesant Town, Peter Cooper Village, in the city of Gigantic. That life built it probably in, I don't know, 30s, 40s, whatever. And then we moved to the Bronx probably when I was 2nd or 3rd grade in the sister complex called Parkchester, which MetLife also built. They're almost like sister complexes, they look alike. And eventually, after that, they ventured forward and bought a house in the Bronx, in the Boogie Down Bronx. And there was a garage in the backyard. And after school, you know, I don't know what came of this, but I just, you know, I had a strobe light, I had a black light, and I started playing rock music, which is, you know, now classic rock. And my friends started gravitating towards that after school. And the word traveled throughout the neighborhood, so I would have all these people converging on my parents' house.
Oh my!
My parents were okay with it. You gotta understand, this is the late 60s, 70s, and the Bronx. I mean, there was gangs on the street, kind of thing, and you know they were kind of pretty cool. They were in, you know, the Pasquale household there. The other parents would say, okay, best that they be there rather than be out of the street, type of thing. And so, you know, I think, you know, so then I got into that, and then after that, I got a little bit older, I started doing parties, you know, and then disco came in, I started doing DJing a little bit, you know, here and there, not really super professional, but, you know, and I always had that umbilical cord, that connection with people since I was a kid. I think that's part of, was kind of my early secret sauce, so to speak. You know, and then fast forward, you know, I started doing family reunions and get-togethers, and, you know, but my dad died 27 years ago to cancer. I said, let me take it a step up and, you know, try to channel my feelings and, of course, my grief. And by the time so many people have suffered, especially this last year with COVID, including myself and my mom. But I said, let me try and channel energy and do something good, and because life is always will remain a celebration, okay? Every day is a blessing and a gift. I have it on my website, SohoJohnny.com. And I started doing gigs for, we call them gigs, just parties, events, for American Cancer Society, okay? And that completely opened up you know, what I call the trifecta, my umbilical cord of that connection and making people happy, that fulfilled me, and the charity brought so many people like-minded people to me that came around, and with charity, the people that give back, and it kind of opened up so many different doors and segments. So I started doing events for American Cancer Society and started raising money, giving them a check, and it was such a feel-good thing to do. And then chugged from there, and then slowly but surely, I mean, I had this real estate company, and then I segued to, you know, still have the real estate company, peprealestate.com to this day, and we still provide services for commercial stores or events or lofts or whatever, experiential outdoor activations, pop-ups. We do all of that. PEP, like Peter over PeterRealEstate.com. But the entertainment just kind of organically grew more and more and more. So we started representing some artists and you know, getting involved with some film in the film industry. You know, like co-producing some movies now recently, and a whole plethora of things have happened. When I lost my mom last year, just like I just explained about my dad, I said, well, now I had this entertainment platform and many different focuses, and I said, you know what, maybe do with mom, and I said, you know, I started this foundation.
Yes, and you know what? I'm going to ask you to pause for 1 second. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Chef Barrett Byer, and you are watching The Kate Fox Show. I'm a chameleon.
And we're back. And now when we took a quick break, you had started to speak about fundraising and the foundation that you formed. And I would like you to share with the viewers exactly what it is and what it does now, how it has evolved, because it has evolved.
Right. LetMeHelpInc.org is the website, and it's a foundation that I helped found. You know, nobody owns a foundation. It kind of owns it. The public owns it. We just facilitate it. We put it together, and there's a board. And the difference why I did a foundation, and some people, I mean, I didn't know. I learned myself about this. The difference between a foundation and a charity is a foundation can pivot and get to different charitable purposes.
That's right.
Like American Cancer Society, great cause. We'll always support cancer, fighting cancer. But I think, you know, it could be muscular dystrophy, it could be cerebral palsy. So one of the, last year during November, thanks, and believe me, it's not about me, the audience, it's about the team. I owe it all to the team around me, and some blessed people that have supported me. And we did an event, a very, very milestone event. We ended up doing, it was a virtual event because obviously COVID, we couldn't do it. But we ended up doing, it started as 4 hours, it was a 6-hour virtual show.
Oh, that's right, you had that big...
Yeah, and it was
a big production.
Yeah, I guess so. And you know, it was really, really cool because, and I was just so flabbergasted because I had so many beautiful people come. So we had artists and celebrities either allowing footage of themselves or shout outs or actual performances. 6 hours worth of this, and we raised money for 3 different causes.
Oh, 3?
3 different causes. Prostate cancer was near and dear to someone on my team. We raised money for a foundation, prostate cancer. My friend Oliver Fund, great, another champion. Anti-bullying, because one of the, I think about practically one of the 6 hours was co-produced by Andrew Cole, hashtag I am no joke, anti-bullying. And COVID, there's something, Department of the Aging of Yonkers, I think, kind of something like Meals on Wheels. I think it was they get food to people with COVID or sick people. And we were able to raise money, and through the efforts of everybody, champions like Kathy Eldon with the Creative Visions Foundation, which is kind of part of like the hashtag I am no joke, and Andrew Cole, champions like her, John Valesco, my team, Ellen Shapiro, and Jimmy Starr, and so many different people. We had Patrick Stewart. We had Ozzy Osbourne and his wife Sharon. We had, I think, Jeff Goldblum. Like, remember, we had Fred Schneider from the B-52s. We had Cedric the Entertainer. We had list. I think C.C. Peniston and list, and all different types of genres of music. I can't remember everybody. My buddy Scott Page from Pink Floyd, another philanthropist, brilliant guy, my buddy, and we're doing I'm supporting him for his gig called Living, which is going to be happening in August 14th in LA. We pulled it off, and it was a wonderful event, and we raised some money, and everybody that was part of it, all the celebrities and everything, they just gave. It's not like we cut a check to pay for anybody for what they did.
Well, isn't that nice?
It's a testament towards, the ethics and the spirit of humanity, which is a big part of the SohoJohnny.com, SohoJohnny platform that I helped build. Okay, and again, when people ask me, like, for advice, they say, be the driver of your bus of your life. Don't be a passenger, right? And part of this, I was the passenger, not realizing, but thank God, I guess I was like indirectly guiding the steering wheel.
Sometimes you gotta sit back a little bit. Yeah. You just have to know when to let other people drive.
Exactly. So that's part of the journey. So we did that gig, and it was fantastic. And we've got a few other things in the plan for Let Me Help Inc. One of the artists that we represent, some great guys, Mike Vacira, Randy Salso, and everything, called Animes X. And they were doing children's shows, not shows of music, producing music and everything, and then we teamed up with them, and now they're charting all over the country.
Wow.
And like they'll take like a rock, they'll make a rock version of a children theme, like a Disney theme or something type of thing. And one of the latest things they did, which is charting now, is Strawberry Fields.
Really?
And so we're going to, we're planning now that we're getting past COVID, we picked a camp for blind children called Camp Marcella in New Jersey, and we're going to do a gig with them there. We're planning coming up to raise money for the camp. I mean, my John Velasco had told me, he said, this camp for blind kids. I said, oh, okay, where could we say no to that, right?
Right, you can't. You can't say no.
You can't say no, right? So yeah, so it was wonderful. So we have that in gig. We're trying to do something to relight Broadway. We were working on that last winter. It was kind of pushed back a little bit. It was hard because of all COVID and fear and everything. But including myself, because I was concerned of going on set here, not wearing a mask like we're doing now, but everybody's vaccinated and everything. But, it's very important to keep our eye on the ball. No matter what we're doing, you got to feed that inner spirit within yourself. I'm not making light of everything that we went through. I lost my mom to COVID, but I always say to myself, and I really firmly believe it, and I wake up every day and I challenge everybody that's listening to do the same thing. Remember, there's people less fortunate that are suffering more. And remember, outreach is everything. During COVID, social distancing does not mean social isolation. It does not. It's really the opposite. This is the challenge of humanity. I actually have a comic book out called Mandate for Humanity. It's my first issue, SohoJohnny comic. And then my team put it together, and it was that kind of a novelty. And then all of a sudden, the comic book, Kevin Smith and what was that reality series?
Really? Yes, and I can't think of what it's called.
They endorsed it. They came out and endorsed
that's
it.
Great.
Crazy stuff. And I'm so flattered. But and basically, it was the theme of it was, is that is this Soho? And the irony was this was gestating right before COVID. The plot, which I'm going to share with you, and it's just a plot where this SohoJohnny character goes out, and goes around the world and tries to spread cheer and good tidings, and the world is depressed and almost like a COVID pandemic world, right? And and I go out and I get bestowed powers from 3 different people in this episode, okay, in the first comic, and I forget exactly what they were. But like I get something from my buddy Scott Page from Pink Floyd. He's a tech wizard and everything. He gives me some powers. one of the guys I call Mr. Magnificent, Monty Rock III. He was always on Howard Stern and Johnny Carson back in the day. And like he was the DJ from Saturday Night Fever. We'll talk about that in a minute. And he gives me flamboyancy. If any people remember Monty Rock III, I love him. I'm Mr. Magnificent. And then the other powers I get from Howard Bloom, who was a brilliant writer and he still is, brilliant writer and publicist, and definitely dear friends, all these people. So I get these powers and I go around the world and just just make people happy and get them out of their shell, out of their rut. And that's really the theme of this comic book. And I got my buddies Frank and Nino, and my whole a lot of people like in my crew here, Jimmy Starr, Ron Russell. They have a show and everything. We're all on here. It's really it was very, very special. The timing of it was almost predestined that we made the comic book.
Everything for a reason.
Yeah, kind of like So we talked about disco a little bit, and of course I was a rock guy back in the day when I was a kid. Then disco came out, and I enjoyed disco.
You're not looking disco today.
Today's kind of my rock.
Yeah, today's rock and roll.
Rock theme, yeah, and we'll get it because we've got a lot of rock stuff that we're going to go on. I'll look at my phone and look at my roster that's coming up. But we did a show in August of 2019, and this was right before the foundation, so we raised money for American Cancer Society, and it was really cool. It's got a lot of notoriety, and we'll talk about that because that's a fun thing, right? We had an all-day festival that we put together, and we had, I was blessed to have Danny Terrio come in to help co-host it with me.
Oh, that's cool.
We all know Denny had that show, Dance Fever. He taught John Travolta how to dance.
That's right.
Yes, he did. He was there, a wonderful guy. And we had two bands, the original bands, Tavares, Heat Wave, Double Exposure, Instant Funk, Planet Patrol, Fonda Ray, Sharon Brown, Jimmy Bohorn. I had a freestyle artist, Star Hansen. Monty Rock III actually came in from Vegas to do his song, Get Dancing. My chiffon is wet, my wig is wet, baby. I don't know if you know that song. It's so great. Discotheques in the second, like, it was so cool. And a little bit out of the genre, but a friend and came out to support. We know him from Rock of Ages. Constantine Morales came out there. He finished the show, and I hope I'm not forgetting anybody. We had so many different people in that roster. Oh, we had a tribute, Danny Clay for Luther Vandross. Had a kick-ass tribute guy, Robert Barco, who does George Michael.
Wow.
Fantastic. He was fantastic. And Arnold Carmichael from radio. Remember, he used to play with Ray Parker Jr. and everything, blah, blah, blah. And we did it was a gigantic circus tent during the day, and then in the evening it was in a grand ballroom. And everybody had a great time, and we raised money for American Cancer Society, and it was, I mean, what's better than that?
Right,
right?
Nothing.
Nothing. We have our 9-to-5 jobs. Got to take care of business. Got to take care of family first, and everything, and our value system and everything. Thank God we hold on to our values and keep it strong. But we need to keep the seed of life and entertainment, the celebration of life, active in all of us, and the spirit within all of us. It's a big part of my drive. Is outreach and to get people to rise people up. Outreach, it doesn't matter who you are. The house of SohoJohnny is open to everybody.
All right. And you know what? I want to take one more break, and we'll be right back. Hi, I'm Kate Fox, and I am here at the new and expanded home of Tresses and Colors at 1227 Montauk Highway in Oakdale. And they are just preparing to celebrate 25 years in business and have recently won Best of Long Island. They are house to Sunny and Dew as well, which is all natural skincare and hair products. And boy, you can find anything you want here. So don't forget to shop local discounts and mention the Kate Fox Show for 25% off any hair service. And we're back. So now, you've got so much going on. Why don't you tell us some of the things that are coming up, or some things that maybe we haven't touched on that you would like the viewers to know?
Well, aside feeling like I'm a mad scientist here, and it's just, you know, it's kind of crazy, the journey, but I got an email from some, like, people. I mean, when I say make people, these people are like family, you know. We just did the, you know, I helped my buddy Mickey Burns. We just had the show in my Soho location. He had Alex Skolnick from Testament. That was just June 2nd. Dear, dear friend, and as we all know, Mickey Burns, he has the Profiles talk show. Do a shout out to him and his contribution. By the way, before we talk about it, shout out to both of you as well for keeping the light on during these times, okay?
Thank
Every
you.
little big counts. We do nothing comes. I know both of you are involved with charity, and I just want to thank both of you as well. June 17th, April Rose Gabrielli, who was a movie premiere. I think it's down at the Standard Hotel. July 2nd, looks like you know, we'll be backstage, possibly with the Everclear concert in Orange County in Middletown. July 8th, it looks like we might be in Vegas for a birthday party. I'm not sure. Now, toward the end of July, this is kind of like, I'll give you kind of halfway inside scoop, but we've got something that is gestating now with some very near and dear people for like kind of like children oriented, which is a big part of family, children, SohoJohnny platform and outreach. That looks like we're going to be in Times Square, maybe on the big screen. I don't know. We'll see what's going to happen. It's really cool, right?
That'd be very cool.
Listen, we need this stuff. We need content.
Yeah.
We need people to be uplifted, right? And this is, I promise, as it comes to pass, a very, very uplifting thing is going to happen. Looks like it's going to be the 3rd or 4th week in Times Square. A lot of this is all going to be on SohoJohnny.com,
Okay.
or you know, SohoJohnny LLC, on Facebook, of course, and the usual things, SohoJohnny on Instagram.
And I'll throw all those links so
Yeah,
people can
yeah.
find
I mean,
you.
I just YouTube, whatever, but we whatever.
But just Google SohoJohnny and you'll find a whole lot, just for the record.
Yeah, and again, it's not about me. It's I owe it all the
but
people
you're the
around
conduit.
me.
You know, you're.
You know what I am? I am those of us that know a Mack truck, okay, very strong truck builder for these Mack trucks, and they pull rigs or whatever. And in the front of the hood, there's this little ornament,
Yes.
little Mack truck ornament. That's me. Well, the heavyweight's done by other people. Thank you. I love you.
Yeah, but you're right in front, taking the bugs and the hits.
I guess so. So anyway, August 12th, possibly we're going to have a nice major red carpet event that maybe we'll be doing. I'm not sure. But another philanthropist and dear friend of mine in the fashion industry, Sue Wong, and my team, Eileen Shapiro, you know, got that possibly going on in LA. And August 14th, my buddy Scott Page, his live-in concert is going to be there, and Let Me Help is going to be part of that thing. So I'll probably be presenting the Let Me Help portion, you know. He's great. He's got so much excitement going on August 14th. So Scott out to Scott Page and for the live-in concert, L-I-V-N, L-I-V, I think apostrophe N, live-in, give-in. What a great concept he has. He and I helped support him. He raised money for the Watts Conservatory a year and a half ago for underprivileged children to bring music education. And he did a show that I helped support called The Dark Side of the NAM. It was right towards the coattails at the end of the NAM convention, you know, that's down in California. And that was another worthy event. So then, right after LA, yours truly, I guess I'm going to be presenting on stage in the Montauk Lighthouse in the Hamptons, bringing out the Marshall Tucker Band, you know.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So it looks like that's going to be happening as well. September 11th, if somehow out of my crazy mind, if I could do this, usually like that other disco event I told you to raise money, now will be for Let Me Help. September 11th, hold the date. I'm not sure where it's going to be, probably in the city. I mean, last time it was in Stamford, Connecticut.
Oh.
It looks like we're going to do it in the city. And there's going to be a major red carpet there, and I mean, we have kind of a disco. May not only be disco, it could be rock, because I know my present company
We
loves
love
rock.
everything. Listen, I love everything.
But, okay, so December 11th, and then September 14th, I'm always here, and a dear friend of mine, Louis Rizzo, heads up the Legends of Vinyl. Shout out to him and what he gives back to the original DJs and artists, and he's got his award ceremony, and I believe that's going to be in Brooklyn,
Okay.
Paradise Hall or something. Yeah, so shout out to my buddy Louis Rizzo, and he's great what he's done and everything. I'm a major supporter and fan. September 18th and 19th, looks like, I know it's crazy, right? It's crazy. I'm out of my
How do you
mind.
sleep? What do you...
I don't really, and the funny part is I can't sleep. You know, I wake up in the morning, my eyes pop open and say, I want to sleep later, and I can't do it.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, you know.
Do you have things to do?
Yeah.
Well, so now this, as things finalize, will this information be available on your website? Some of it, or all of it, or
Everything will be published on the website. It will be on social media. It will be on my Facebook page, SohoJohnny LLC. My personal page, SohoJohnny Pasquale. I post a lot of stuff there because I'm just constantly doing like so much, you know. But Instagram, I got my team make sure we get it out there, and plus we post some of our adventures on YouTube from time to time.
Okay.
As well, SohoJohnny.
Wow.
So after the Legends of Vinyl, looks like September 18th and 19th in Ashbury Park, Pearl Jam, Billy Idol. Okay, Billy Idol, I love Billy Idol. You know. September 22nd, maybe Alice Cooper is coming. September 25th, maybe Philadelphia, Jane Addiction, Cheap Trick. And by the way, just shout out to my friends also that supported back in that virtual show last November, Steve Perkins and Kenny Olson from Kid Rock, Steve Perkins from Jane Addiction, dear friends of mine, wonderful people came out to support. How could I forget that whole crew there? Leland Sklar. Leland Sklar is like a rock god. He's been in like every major band out there, and there was just a red carpet treatment, and all these other artists were just coming to see him. I was supposed to be in LA and didn't make it. We got a few other things. Rick Wakeman was also part of it. Okay, and John Lodge from Moody Blues. I forgot to mention these people. How could I forget them? They're like.
Well, you should actually just have a ticker
I should have
giving
a
you all the
ticker,
names, because my
up,
Lord.
I would take up your whole show, and I know it's just like, you know, it's like I'm not pounding my chest here.
You know what?
These people came to support a worthy cause. That's the thing, you know.
Well, that's what's important. And you know, now what I want to do, because we're taking up your valuable time, and I know you have things to do as well, but you've spoken about your philosophy in your life, but is there something else you would like to impart to those watching before we say goodbye?
Well, the breadth of love is spoken through the language of musical expression, okay? And I kind of put that on my website. I think if everybody that's listening to this could just remember that we're all role models to each other, you know, talking a little bit about my adventure, and you know, and by the way, when I do these shows, I'm a performer. You know, I'll sing and I get up into choreography. I can't help myself. I'm working with the artists up there, and I'm out of my mind. And people say I actually do a great job and everything, and I just can't help pumping people up, because I try to pump that excitement up and get people going, because it's so important. We're all role models to each other. It doesn't matter what you have or what you don't have. You know, if you get on a bus and you see another lady sitting there, just say something nice to raise her spirits. One simple ripple like that from all of everybody listening to this broadcast right now, think about that tomorrow. We'll set a tidal wave together, all of us together, of good faith and love, because that's so important. That was the comic book. That was everything. It's a big part of who I am. Not that I'm trying to take credit, but if there's one thing...
Well, we're talking to you, and it's important.
But the legacy, we all leave behind a legacy, and make light of nobody else's suffering. We don't know other people's purgatory. You know, we just saw so much of it because of this pandemic. But what's happening now in the entertainment industry, in all industries, you know, the real estate downtown, now that people have been suppressed, or isolated, or homebound, and now coming out again feeling comfortable, thank God. You know, the last pandemic was 100 years ago, and we didn't have the med technology that then we have now. Now we feel safer with inoculations, whatever, and now we're being more cautious, but that's okay. It's good. Health, a good hygiene and health hygiene is important, always, but there's a rubber band is snapping back. There's an upheaval. There's a volcanic eruption that's happening with content and entertainment. There's such a big demand now that we're seeing, that I'm seeing because of what I'm involved with during this next second half of this year and going into the first half of next. Content, like, you know, there's a strike, you know, you can't suppress human nature, okay? No. People need to let their hair down to get out, and it's a big part of what made my life, okay? Anyway, so here I am, you know, I picture myself as just one of the avatars there on the skateboard, on surfing, not the skateboard or the surfboard, on the beach, you know, kind of reading it, and it's my privilege to be able to lead the charge in my own little small way for that upheaval of good nature, love, and celebration of life, and appreciation of what life has to offer. That's the most important fundamental thing I'd like to leave with the audience.
And I love it.
And again, thank both of you for everything, because I know you both contribute, you both are involved with charity.
Yes, and you're talking about Amy too, who's behind the camera.
Both of you, Amy, and maybe, you know, both of you are just wonderful, and thank you for having me today.
Thank you so much. Check him out, John Pasquale, SohoJohnny.